Hello, and thank you for joining us for this new edition of the One Young World Together Apart series. My name is Puerta. I'm a proud One Young World ambassador from Colombia. I'm the co-founder of Design Your Nation and TASKME, two initiatives working to connect, inspire, and empower young people through innovation, entrepreneurship, and skills for employment. I had the pleasure to be here with Her Excellency, the First Lady of Colombia, María Juliana Ruiz. She's a leader that has used her role to advocate for the development and leadership of young people across the country, and for greater collaboration between the public and the private sector. This past year, she led the National Prize for Young Talent with the Presidential Youth Council and 23 companies to identify Colombia's brightest young leaders. The prize winners, proudly including myself, participated in the 2019 One Young World Summit in London, where the First Lady also spoke as a counselor. So thank you, First Lady, for joining us today. Before we begin, how are you and your family doing?
Everybody's doing well. Everybody's safe, taking care at home, and healthy so far. Thank you so much. How are you, Jonathan? How about your family, friends, and community?
So good, so good. Thankfully, yeah. I'm currently in Medellin and I'm working from home and everything's good. Okay. So let's start. My first question to you is, what has the experience of COVID-19 been like across Colombia?
Well, Jonathan, let me tell you that as confusing and uncertain the situation has been, and well, understanding that it will impact us in our health, physically and mentally, that it will affect economic growth, development, and all the challenges we know that we have to face from now on. I must say that Colombia has been working towards one purpose, and that has been to preserve life, to save lives, and to do it while maintaining a social stability. I have to add to that in favor of Colombia that I do feel that solidarity has become Colombia's greatest value.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I have a couple of questions from the One Your World community around the world. And the first one is from Paola, from Barranquilla. She says, your role as a First Lady has never been more important. What has it been like for you in this role of supporting the nation at a time of crisis?
That's a good question. You and probably some of the young leaders from Colombia and from the world heard me before last year in London, and it's true, definitely being a First Lady is quite a role. It's a role without a rule book, as someone described it once. And but I also see an opportunity on it, and is that it gives you some discretionality to either take it simple or really commit to it and go very deep on your work. And that has been my choice. I've decided since 2018, when I assumed the role, to serve my country with all my professional experience, my human skills, and my willingness to really serve people, to achieve relevant social impact. So that was my starting point, and that was my purpose, to really give value to the role and probably go beyond to what usually has been the role of a First Lady. And towards this crisis, actually something very interesting happened to me and to the office I'm leading. And is that since the first day, we've decided to work on two main topics. First one was nutrition, and nutrition seen from what we could say a holistic perspective, with two lines of action. Nutrition in terms of nurturing your brain, and nutrition in terms of nurturing your soul. So in that sense, we wanted to see like the starting and the essence point of a human being, of the development of the human being. Once you know you're getting enough nutrition to physically develop your brain and your body, and you add up those actions and from our perspective, programs oriented towards nourishing your soul as a good human being, we understood we have the right beginning. So that was my starting point. And then my second one, which you already know as well, and the One Young World community know, is youth. And I said I was somehow lucky, I should say, because in light of this crisis, those two topics became even more relevant. So in terms of nutrition, what we did is we strengthened all the networking we had already established and highlighted the programs that we had active in terms of nutrition and food security, and established a program like on top of it with an umbrella that was a campaign to bring food packages to the families in need and the more vulnerable families in this situation in Colombia. And I could probably go deeper in that campaign later on our conversation, but that was our goal in terms of nutrition, that we had already established some work. I was actually leading two important actions. The first one was that we established last year in March the National Alliance for Nutrition. And the greater goal of it was to highlight nutrition as the focus for 2030 in our country. And that was to work together, trying to diminish, hopefully eliminate those negative indicators in terms of malnutrition in our country. And the second important action I'm leading is the Intersectoral Commission on Food Security. It's the CISAN, you have probably heard about it. And what I consider has been really relevant for what we're living right now is that through that commission, we were able to work in a multi-sectoral perspective on food security. So, of course, since sometimes, and this is part of the role, of being able to convene all the sectors, and now we're working in that commission with private sector, public sector, academy, international cooperation, all of us putting together our major tasks towards food security in our country. And we've designed a goal for 2030. So those things are becoming really useful these days, because I believe worldwide, after taking care of COVID, hunger has become major issue for most states in the world. So I think in that sense, we were luckily well-oriented since the beginning, and now we can take advantage of what we've worked before towards enhancing all the COVID's requirements and are being in the table right now. And the second big action that I've been leading from my role and from my office is youth, that you already know. And I must confess it's been my obsession to make visible and to detonate all the youngers' abilities, capabilities, and talents. And I've been working closely with the presidential advisor on youth in several programs, all of them with one main purpose, and is to highlight all the potential that we have in our nation, in the whole country. We've seen youth in his very broad spectrum across the country. Sometimes I like to mention that I'm well aware that opportunities are not everywhere, and I understand that, and it's difficult. We have a complex territory. But what I'm certain about is that we do have extraordinary talents, capabilities, abilities, and potential in our younger generations. all over the country, every corner. So that has been my wellness, and is to try to bring knowledge as the main tool to detonate those talents and those abilities towards a positive project of life, and to become productive, but overall happy in our society. So probably I would like to highlight two projects that we've been working on for a long time ago now, but that became really relevant at the light of COVID. And the first project is one that I love. I really care a lot about this project, and it's called Generations That Connect. And it has two main actors. One actor is all the university students, and the other main actors are the population that has already finished its professional or productive life, and now makes part of the pension fund. Actually, this is a project that is a result of an alliance between the Presidential Advisory on Youth, this major pension fund in Colombia, and the group of students, the volunteers that are part of universities. And what is beautiful about it is that we end up connecting and creating conversations, positive conversations between these two groups. And what we've seen is how both groups enrich from each other. We have the youngers taking advantage of the experience and all the stories of life that the elders can bring to a younger population. And we see as well how the oldest are being retrained and reactivated towards this new era of technology, of music, of activities, creativity, and ways of socializing. So it has been a very nice experience. One of the things that I highlight the most about this is the achievement of impacting mental health. What we've seen by connecting is both of them are being served. The youngest, because they're having this opportunity as well to connect. Doesn't matter, it's not the usual way they connect with peers. Now they're connecting with the population they were not used to connect. They're seeing they are able and capable of serving in many ways. And in the other hand, the result in the humor, in the sense, and in the feelings of the older population has been incredible. After all the interventions, we measured the impact, and it has been extraordinary, incredibly positive in both ends. And that for me has been one of the things that I've been very even picky in achieving, and is we do need to change our conversations. We do need to see the way to connect with everybody, and we need to see the way to do it in a positive way. And this is the result of this project. So that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. And the other project that is also from my heart is one that we call Youngers as, I believe this would be the translation. It's like Youngers as Agents of Change. And the main actors in this project is a group of young leaders that I do trust a lot, and is scientists and researchers. And we've been working with them previously, but now what we did is through a selection process, select those investigation and researchers and research projects led by young students or younger students in terms of providing solutions, health solutions towards the COVID. It could be either in terms of prevention or attention. And by this, I include projects that start with a new way or a new element for the masks, and they go so far as to and complete modern and ultrasonic ICU, for example, portable ICUs and things like that. So for me, this project has been very important for two reasons. First, it shows up how important it is. Investigation, research, and how important it is to connect those two with young leadership. Because it's part of the essence of a younger to create, to innovate, to be motivated towards a new way to solve things. So that's one of the reasons why for me this project has been very important. And the other one is because definitely in our country, we haven't really paid that much attention towards the value of knowledge. And this really gives value to knowledge. And we're trying to work with it, and our goal is to convert the knowledge into a service, into a public service, and at the same time, a productive public service. So how can you make productive research, which previously in our country hasn't been seen as it? Same as researching. So those are two projects that I would love to highlight in terms of COVID. I think I'm being too passionate and speaking a lot about this question you make. I'm sorry.
No, it's very fine. It's very fine. And you're completely right. I mean, I have known how the young leaders around the country have emerged and have put their innovation capabilities and leadership in the light of COVID to create solutions.
You know it very well, Medellin.
Yeah.
Leading this group and this team of young leaders, providing new solutions to old problems, as someone would say.
Yes, yes. And another point is that you already highlight is the role of the private sector in your initiatives and in this crisis. I think that more than ever before, the private sector has to have to deploy its full capabilities to innovate and to bring positive and sustainable change in the light of this pandemic. So has the private sector in Colombia stepped up to this challenge, and are major industries struggling themselves to stay afloat?
Jonathan, I believe every sector worldwide has been impacted. I don't think there's a sector that can say, I'm free of COVID impact. And in that sense, some of the sectors are really struggling. Some of them are surviving, and some of them are reinventing, redesigning, and reorganizing themselves to readapt their operations and to better serve their public. But I definitely think that private sector, at least in Colombia, has really raised their hand and be active and show up. And what I can say is that private sector in Colombia has really shown their solidarity essence. And that for me has been as well important, because as part of my role, I have that convening power and being how close and how willing the private sector has been towards our programs, to our proposals, towards our mini think tanks and all the things we've been calling upon, has been for me very positive. I do believe the private sector in Colombia has raised their hand and be present.
Perfect, perfect. I completely agree with that. So you talked a little bit earlier about your initiative, your project. So let's talk more deep. Let's go deep in that. So you have been leading the project Ayudarnos hace bien, or helping does us good. So tell us about its aim and objectives.
That was a big risk I took. First one, I also will share it with you, is the fact that, but taking the lead of that specific project, it was something I just thought about, and I said, I do want to make it happen. I think this is the right time to get together, to make a call to all the Colombians, and I thought part of it would require a lot of my presence and my public presence. Probably you don't know, I know, but probably some of the audience doesn't know, and I've been kind of working really low profile. I work hard, very hard, but I'm not the kind of person who wants and likes to go very public. And so that was my first risk. I knew I had to take that challenge and face it. So the first thing I did was to place a national call, and it was made under one premise, and it was patriotism. So the first thing I did was to start some sort of a challenge and call everybody in Colombia and say, let's put our piece of patriotism and build up this huge flag of us, the Colombian flag. Let's raise your flag. And you can just show up your flag on your windows, on your WhatsApp profiles, on anywhere and everywhere. And then I start receiving all sort of pictures, kids holding their flags, kids rolling in our Colombian flag, people all over the country raising their flag and saying, we are Colombians, we're here, and we are going to face this together. So that for me was a very, to be honest, unexpected result. I knew it was gonna be nice, and I knew it was gonna be hard-watered, and I know it was gonna be probably a good impact, but I didn't expect it to be that huge. We built up that idea under 4 or 5 phrases or words, and it was, we can use our nationality, our patriotism, to say, thank you. Here I am. I'm thinking on you. Cheer up. So those were our messages. And so we played with it a little bit. And when it was time to say thank you to all those who were in the first line, doctors, everybody who worked in the health sector, public forces, police, and even I don't know, the firemen, everybody out there who was in the first line of action, we raised our flag to say thank you. Here are Colombians saying thank you to you. When it was time to cheer up those who have family members being positive with COVID, we raised our flag to say, cheer up, everything's gonna be okay. We're thinking on you. And so that became like the first motivational and inspirational unity call as a nation. And from there, I migrated towards a concrete action. And it was what we now in the country know as help us, made us good, which is ayudar nos hace bien. And now that has one specific purpose, and is to put together food packages to bring to those in major need in terms of food all over the country. Once again, we wanted to get to that last mile, the most difficult one, to those who does not receive either subsidies or benefits from the government or any other kind of benefits. So it was a very tough challenge. We had a goal of, and we have a goal of 1 million food packages. In Espanol, I would say, voy a chiviarlos. I have no idea how would you translate that, but it's like, I'm gonna tell you the one and only news that hasn't been told, and is that we have achieved our first goal, and go beyond it, which for us is incredible. We have now closer an amount of around 500,000 families attended in 32 departments, 1,128 municipalities, and this has been really incredible. Once again, the role of the First Lady in convening and the fact of being able of articulate and have this advocacy power as well has been proved. We've been receiving all the solidarity of every citizen, because we started with donations of 5,000 pesos. That's what, $2? Something around $2. And so that's the starting point. And from there, we're building up these food packages. Of course, we've had major donuts. How would you say that? Donuts?
Donors.
Yeah. And private sector once again has been there.
Yeah.
So this proves the ability and capability also of the role, and I can't be more happy and more grateful for all the support and the solidarity that most Colombians have shown towards this purpose.
Yeah, that is a huge impact. I mean, impacting that number of families and going through all the country in just a few days is a very good action in these days. And in line with that thought, we have a question from Henry from Mozambique. He wants to know, what would your advice be to people wondering how they can help vulnerable members of their communities without putting their own health at risk?
You know, Jonathan, I do believe there's so many ways to help without being at risk. One that is very simple is be more empathic. Once you start understanding what you feel, what others feel, or what others could be feeling, then your steps forward in serving. I do believe connect, as I mentioned before, is a major issue, is something that you can do, and you can do it as we're doing it right now, virtually. That's one of the really good things that technology has also been proven in, and is in connecting people. And we can also connect in a right way, and we can use technology the best way ever by getting closer to the ones we love, to the ones we care, and even to the ones we haven't seen ever, just to be there as a support. Definitely those two that have the economic capacity of providing resources, that's always well received. There's so many things. Now you can donate clothes, you can donate food as we're doing it right now, you can donate health equipment. There's so many things that you can do, but I do praise for those who really take the chance of improving their human skills by being empathic, by being optimistic, by being creative towards all the challenges we're facing.
Absolutely. That's a very simple way, but a very powerful way to help our members and our families these days. So we have one last question from the ambassador community, and this one comes from Noor from India, who sent a very interesting question, and is, how do you think this pandemic will shape our societies in the future? Will we revert back to normal, or do you believe that our governments, companies, and social norms will be irreversibly altered?
I think normality will be different. I think normality will be rethinking, being strong. Normality will be being inspired. Normality has to be teamwork. Normality has to be positive. normality has to be create innovative solutions toward social problems. And I do believe that normality right now has to be based on those positive conversations and positive ways of connect with each other.
Such a powerful.
And that's probably some of the things that have really motivated me, like myself, and it's the fact of seeing how families, friends, communities, and even strangers get together just to say, here we are, and we're gonna face it together, and we're gonna get out of this together. And that for me prizes and shows the value of solidarity.
Yes, such a powerful way to go to that message. So we're just out of time, but if you could leave the entire One Young World community with a final action or thought, what would it be?
I would actually like to express something to the younger generations.
And is that I do believe that youth is that unique stage in life where you have the opportunity to understand, define, and commit towards who you are, what are you capable of, and what you want to be for you, for your family, and for your community in general. So my message to the younger generations is take that opportunity and make it right.
Thank you. What a wonderful way to end this conversation. So on behalf of the One Young World community, thank you so much, First Lady, for joining us, and thank you for your time.
Jonathan, thank you. Thank you so much once again to One Young World and the One Young World community. I was actually counting days to see you again. I was looking forward Germany, but now I'm pretty sure this young community will show up with a very creative and innovative way to get together again.
That's right, that's right. And thank you everyone for watching. Please stay safe and make sure to like, comment, and share this session.
Thank you.
Thank you.